Hi, welcome to the Ownership Journey podcast, where you're going to hear real stories from past clients who have left the corporate world to become business owners. And they did it through curiosity, education, clarity, and intention. Each episode is going to feature past clients that are going to be reflecting on their transition, the questions that they faced, the concerns that they had, life as an owner, and their advice now to listeners who are considering a career transition into business ownership. If you're exploring or considering what's next beyond your day job, this podcast and coaching experience is the right thing for you. I'm Joe Forbiducci, a career ownership coach, an entrepreneur, and an ex-corporate executive. And in each episode, we're going to explore what could happen for you if you approach this experience with curiosity and open to learn in an environment that is stress-free, that has no costs associated to it, no commitments, no decisions, and no obligations. All right, it's time to get started. Well, welcome. Thank you, Trevor, for taking some time to be with us and be with me and kind of share your story. So I appreciate it. And I want to welcome you. This is Trevor Keling. He's actually in Holton, Kansas. And so if you're not familiar where Holton, Kansas is, it's about 30 to 35 miles north of Topeka, Kansas. So that's kind of where it's at. So again, welcome, Trevor. Thank you for joining today.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. I appreciate it. It's good to see you again.
Absolutely. Good to see you. So I'm really excited for you to share your story and your thoughts with our audience. So if you would just kind of give us a little background, tell us a little bit about your corporate career, your corporate background, and maybe what kind of prompted you whenever we started working a little over a year or so, or 2 years ago, I guess, to start exploring business ownership.
Yeah, for sure. Happy to share those details. So I've been in the IT field. I started back in 2012, so I'm going on year number 14 now. Um, I have primarily been a W-2 employee, working corporate jobs. I've dabbled a little bit in contract work over the years, but primarily, the 9 to 5 grind, if you will. Kind of the catalyst for getting into this, if you will, was really when you reached out. And I do want to say, first off, I want to say thank you to my beautiful wife, Carly. She's been an amazing support staff for me personally through this journey. We run the business together. We're having a great time. We're building this has been a lot of fun. As you can possibly imagine, when I told her I was going to be buying a poop scooping company, it wasn't exactly something that she imagined was going to be in her life, but she's had a great attitude about it. She's been great at listening to me ramble on with excitement as we're going through this journey.
And the
Um,
name of your franchise is called Scoop Brothers, correct?
is Scoop Brothers. Yep, yep. So
Nice.
we are a pet waste removal company. It's very simple. We pick up dog poop.
Nice.
But back in 2023, I kind of had an epiphany. I didn't want to work that 9 to 5 grind my entire life, right? So I began diving into some passive income strategies. Carly and we started buying some rental properties. We bought a mobile home park, which are all great assets to have. They've been very good for us, but kind of unless I wanted to take that big leap and devote a ton of time into that asset class, it wasn't really going to be the full solution to the goal of getting away from that 9 to 5. Over the years, I've actually had a few other people reach out, like on LinkedIn, about franchising before you did, and I probably wasn't in that correct mindset at that time when they reached out, and I just didn't really give them the time to listen to them. My first thought, I think, like most people's, whenever they reached out, was that franchising is owning a McDonald's. And I had no desire to own a McDonald's, nor did I have the capital, because I think there's a lot of capital required for that. But Joe, when you reached out, I think for me it was kind of a light bulb moment. It was the perfect timing. Knowing that owning a business, that type of asset, really could be a catalyst for building the life that I wanted, kind of that life by design.
Awesome. And I know that you explored many different types of businesses when we were working together. So I'm curious, were there things that surprised you, either way, good or bad, as you were learning and exploring, getting educated on different types of business possibilities?
Yeah, definitely a lot of surprise. I think the first one was kind of realizing what franchising actually was and how many opportunities are out there. Like I just mentioned, my first thought was getting into a McDonald's or a Chick-fil-A or a Subway. But there's tons of options out there in the franchise world. I think that you probably showed me at least 10 at the very minimum, different opportunities that I explored throughout the journey that weren't brick and mortar companies. Something as simple as scooping dog poop has franchise opportunities. And, some people are probably thinking, why would you need to franchise to do that work? And it's a great question. But for me, what I learned during that discovery and education process is that investing in a franchise buys you a framework, it buys you a brand, it buys you a support system to help get off to the fastest start possible in your business journey. I think if I had tried to do this on my own, something as simple as creating a logo would have taken me days because I can get very OCD with, making sure that it's right and perfect. But after signing that franchise agreement, they basically said, okay, here's your playbook to get your business started in the next 6 weeks, step by step by step. And for me, that was important so I could continue to work my corporate job that, keeps a roof over our head and food on our table. So it was great.
To bring up the corporate job, that was going to be my next question for you. So I know that was one of your goals when we first started working together was you really wanted to maintain your corporate role while you owned a business. So you really wanted to be able to have that flexibility.
Mhm.
So have you been able to continue that and tell me some of the maybe the challenges that you faced in doing so or some of the positives in doing so?
Yes, yeah, I have been able to maintain it, and it's been great. One of the requirements when I was looking at purchasing a franchise was to have something that was as passive as possible. And so in our job, in our specific franchise, we're able to have the technicians out in the field doing the work because it's not an overly difficult job. It's a service-based industry. It requires no real background or skill or experience to do the job. So on a day-to-day basis, I'll check our technicians' routes. I can do that in the evening. I can do that first thing in the morning. I'll send them a text and let them know if there's anything new or different. But throughout the day, I'll answer some phone calls from customers. But besides that, there's nothing that really has to be done during my normal business hours. So it allows me to still keep that, cover or that security of that corporate job as I'm kind of transitioning and building this business to give me that freedom to step away if I want.
That's awesome. And if I remember right, Trevor, tell me again, your territory is actually in Topeka, or where's your territory based on
Our,
where
our
you live?
territory is actually in Kansas City, so we live,
Kansas City.
yeah, we live about an hour and a half from the center of our territory, and there can be some challenges there. There's been a couple days I've had to cover because of a sick technician, but you know, again, it's that franchise, it's that framework, and they build it out from day one, so you're just stepping into it and taking the reins and running with it, and it's worked out really well.
That's a question I get a lot of times where with from potential clients is they want to own the business in their backyard, and that's ideal. But obviously, you're making it work by having a corporate job and not really having it in your backyard where it's an hour or so from where you're at because you went to where the business was at. I'm guessing.
Yeah, correct. Yep. Yeah, it would be great if I could drive, 10 minutes to cover some yards, but when you're investing into a franchise, I wanted it to be successful and in the territory that we chose is the best one, within a certain radius from where we live. We like where we live. We don't want to be anywhere else, so you just make it work.
Right, good. So you mentioned a few things, but I'm curious what has been better than you expected thus far, and maybe what are some things that weren't or more challenging than you expected. One of the things you talked about is maybe the distance driving to your territory if someone's sick could be a potential challenge. Are there other challenges you faced or other things that you've experienced that are more positive?
Yeah, yeah, it's a great question. I think I can actually answer both of those with one answer. And I think the biggest challenge um, that was great, but also challenging is growth and customer acquisition. We were the first franchisee for our brand. So there was a lot of uncertainty after our launch on some realistic expectations for onboarding customers. The pet waste industry has been around for a while. We're not reinventing the wheel or doing anything cutting edge here, but we would see other companies in our market or even across the country that are well established, just doing crazy numbers. So we figured signups are going to come left and right. It's a reasonably priced service. No one really wants to scoop their dog poop, so it seems like a sure thing. But those first 3 months were a bit of a challenge. We put a lot of effort into grassroots initiatives. We did put a lot of money into digital marketing. We did commercial canvassing, and we would see month over month growth, but it was slow. And when you look at your profit and loss, it's tough to see a lot of money going out without the returns that we were hoping for right off the bat. But I remember when we were going through training and launch, and we kept hearing the phrase brand recognition repeatedly over and over. And it didn't really hit home for us until people started to sign up and they would say, "Oh, yeah, I saw your yard sign around town," or, "Oh, yeah, I Googled whatever phrase and you popped up and you have great reviews." So we started to get established and our brand recognition grew across the territory. And then it was like a switch got flipped. Business just took off. In the last 2.5 months, we've more than tripled our customers from the first 3 months. There's days when the phone is blowing up. We're in the process of hiring another technician, bringing another truck onto the fleet. So, there are challenges, but things that are better than expected is growth and the customer acquisition.
That's awesome. I think you bring up a really good point. So many times when someone goes into business ownership, they're looking for that quick ramp up. And sometimes what I try to coach clients is that ramp up is the 3 to 6 month period of time.
Yep.
And like you said, to your point, you're building the future, right? So everything you did on day 1, 2, and 3, you're building for your future. And that's really how to manage those expectations. So I'm so happy for you. I'm just curious, what month of the year did you launch your business initially?
We launched in August of 2025, so we're just right now at about our 6 month mark.
Wow. So
I
that's
think that you're
awesome.
spot on with what you're saying, that 3 to 6 month ramp up.
Well, that's awesome. So how many technicians do you have now?
We just hired our second full-time technician.
Very good. Very
Yep.
good. And you mentioned your wife. So a lot of times when I work with clients, their significant other may or may not want to play a role in the business. And I know that you said she was very supportive. So what does she play a role in the business currently? And if so, what does that role look like?
Yeah, yeah. The first couple weeks, she really struggled to wrap her mind around, hey, I'm signing a franchise agreement to buy a poop scooping company. But Carly, she is a great marketer. Just personally, she can sell ice to an Eskimo, right? But she does a lot of our digital marketing and has been very successful working in our Meta platform, getting customers through there. She's very good about communicating with the technicians. Um, she's been a manager in the past, so she knows how to create those connections and rapport, and that is very beneficial for me because I'm more what I would consider an operations kind of guy, and like to have it pretty black and white. So she really fills that gap for me on helping the business run from the personnel side of things.
Very cool. And you touched on something that we've talked about, and I encourage all clients, the potential clients, to think about is return on investment, time investment, and passion. How do you rank them? Is a lot of times clients want to be in the business that they're passionate about. I'm a cook, I love eating, so I'm going to own a restaurant. As opposed to what I'm hearing you say is this business is a means to an end, basically. It's going to generate the revenue that you're looking for, the return on investment. It's going to allow you to invest the amount of time that you're willing to put into the business, that you're able to put into the business. And it's going to give you the ability, the passion side of it is you're a business owner growing, scaling a business. But again, it's a niche business that maybe it's not for everybody. But would that be a fair assessment of kind of how you're viewing this business as really the return on investment in time? Or how do you review this in comparison to your goals?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I remember something that you said when we were going through the discovery of different franchises, and you said, you have to remember that a business can be the vehicle. It doesn't have to be your passion, but it is the vehicle to get where you want to go. And this is absolutely that. And what's cool about it is it's also enjoyable. It's not glamorous. It's not a beautiful business, but it's easy. You get to be outside. You're getting fresh air, you're getting exercise, and you're just scooping dog poop. It's relaxed. There's no real stress when you're doing the job. So I've been really happy to find out that it is a vehicle, but it's also something that I can enjoy doing when I have to, and have the excitement from the ownership side of seeing it scale and seeing it grow at the same time.
Perfect. I love it. I love your excitement. I love your passion. As you know, I owned a similar business. My first franchise was a oil recycling business, and it wasn't glamorous either. And my wife took her a little while to get her arms around that as well. But
Yep.
when the checks
Yep.
started coming in, it became a little bit easier for her.
Yep.
So
Yep. No doubt. No doubt.
but, all right, well, we're getting to the end here. I want to be respectful of everybody's time, but I'm curious if what advice could you offer, Trevor, to someone who's out there, maybe where you were a few years ago, who's maybe feeling stuck or not sure what to do and how to move forward? What advice would you offer to them?
Joe, I have a good friend that hosts a podcast, and whenever he ends his podcast, he always asks a question to his audience. And I'm kind of paraphrasing here, but he asks, "What is one thing that you can do today that will help you move towards financial freedom and building your life by design?" So I think my recommendation or help for people that are feeling stuck is just remember you don't have to hit a home run right now. Success, it's a compounding thing, and every piece of growth is valuable. So focus on setting goals, breaking down the steps that you need to get to those goals. And then once you have that rough framework, just start learning, investing in yourself and educating yourself. It's arguably one of the most valuable things that you can do in your life. What I did when I realized that I felt stuck was I started to read, and I've never been an avid reader throughout my life, but I knew that finding content from the people who've put themselves in the position to build the kind of lifestyle that I desire is the best way to learn. Kind of that phrase, copying is the highest form of flattery. So I just started learning, reading, and edit this part out because I just missed that part. So I started to learn, I started to read more, and you're going to be learning at your own pace, and that's completely fine. Your pace is going to vary, but I think the question is good to ask yourself every morning is what is something I can do today to take that step forward?
I love it. I love your advice. I love your passion. What I heard you say, Trevor, was give yourself permission to educate and learn and explore what might be possible for you. Don't sell
Yes,
yourself short. Very
absolutely.
cool.
Yep.
Excellent.
Invest in
Very good.
yourself.
So I'm just curious now, is there anything that you wish as you look back on your journey thus far, is there anything you wish you would have maybe known now that or known then that you know now? Anything like that? Or is kind of what are your thoughts around that?
I probably wish I would have known what franchising was a little bit sooner. I am right now, I'm currently 37. So we launched this business when I was 36. It's not too late in life, but it's
Oh,
always
you're a
nice to
young
start.
guy,
I
37.
know I'm
Holy
still a
cow.
young guy, but it's always nice to start things sooner. But other than that, knowing what franchising is and how valuable owning a business is as an asset would have been nice to know. But there's no regrets on things that have been, and I'm just excited to see what this turns into in the coming years.
Good. I am too. I'm so excited for you, Trevor. I'm so happy that whenever that was, probably 2, 3 years ago, I guess you said yes to that email and we've worked together. So I'm so happy that I had the opportunity to work with you and your wife and your family. I'm so happy that you've found the path that brings you joy and that is going to bring you the financial stability and security that you're looking for. So again, thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule. And hopefully in the next 3 months, your clientele will triple again and keep tripling.
I love
And
it.
next time we speak, hopefully you'll have 5 to 10 technicians by then, and it's all a wonderful path. So again, thank you for your time. I appreciate it, and nothing but much success for you.
Thanks so much, Joe. I appreciate you reaching out to me to start with and getting my journey going. You're the man.
Well, thank you for saying that.